I called it, folks. In my last two videos, I told you exactly what was going to happen. And wouldn't you know it, my prediction came true. Let's get into it. What's good, Deck Gang? I'm going to start adding a little more structure to my weekly news roundup videos. I've had a lot of new subscribers over the last few weeks, so I want to make sure you all know what to expect. These are going to be once a week, and my plan is to have them out by Monday morning US time. If I'm running late, they may slip to Tuesday. These will continue to be centered around the Steam Deck, but I'm also going to cover miscellaneous PC gaming topics because heck yeah, PC gaming. I'll have chapters in each of these roundup videos, so make sure to look for those. Hopefully this structure is going to help me plan any additional videos I want to make, which would come later in the week usually. As we get started, folks, don't forget to hit the like button. That's going to help boost this video so it reaches even more people. If you're new here, welcome to the Deck Gang. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Alright, last week was probably the busiest week in Steam Deck news in a long time. In one day, we basically got the stable release of SteamOS 3.3, learned that it introduced a new stuttering issue, the stuttering issue got promptly fixed, Spider-Man got announced as verified on Steam Deck, Valve announced that Steam Decks were coming to Asia, after which we promptly learned that they will have a presence at Bit Summit and the Tokyo Game Show. So let's jump right in with the biggest of these topics, Steam Deck coming to Asia. Back in late June, before the end of Q2, Valve announced that they were doubling production of the Steam Decks. Then, just 2 weeks ago, Valve announced that they were ramping up production again. This time, they said that they would be able to clear the current crop of reservations by the end of the year. For them to say they were going to completely get through all of the current reservations, I took that and inferred that they were getting ready to accept new demand. The most likely place to get new demand would be for Valve to start selling the Steam Deck in other regions, namely Japan and Australia, since that is what was previously stated before the Steam Deck launch. The second most likely place to get new demand would be retail, but I figured that other countries would be a higher priority and that would come first. Not even a week later, Valve confirmed my suspicions and announced that Steam Decks were now available to be reserved in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong by way of a gaming business named Komodo. Komodo are headquartered in Tokyo and they've published some games, but more notably they are a gaming logistics company helping to bring products to Japan and the Far East. In the past, this has included the Valve Index and the Razer Blade Pro. Notably, the CEO of Komodo spent nearly 8 years working at Valve. His resume beyond Valve is impressive as well, including time spent at EA, Adobe, PlayStation, and Netflix. Nonetheless, there is clearly a relationship with Valve, and there's no doubt that this relationship would have helped get the ball rolling for Komodo to handle all of the logistics for reserving the Steam Decks in these new regions. Those reservation pages are up, by the way, and if you live in one of those regions, you should be able to reserve your Steam Deck now. Well, for almost a week now, but you get the idea. I'm putting the prices up on the screen, but I didn't do any exchange rate research, so I don't know how these stack up. One curiosity that stemmed from these pages is the picture, which has a rendering of a case different from the one that people have received up to this point. It's not clear to me whether folks that reserve in Asia will actually receive this different case or whether this is just a placeholder. Someone on Reddit pointed out that this is an old placeholder render that was used before the actual case was manufactured, but it still seems curious that Valve or Komodo would continue to use this image many months later. Also of note is that different queues will be established for the new regions. Up until now, we had 9 queues. That is 1 queue for each model in each region. Presumably, this adds 12 more queues for the 4 new regions. The blog post announcing the new regions also noted that Valve and Komodo will have a booth at the Tokyo Game Show. This, alongside their interviews with Famitsu and IGN Japan, show that Valve is serious about their efforts in these new regions. Conspicuous by its absence was the lack of an announcement for our Aussie friends, but I cover that a little later, so stay tuned. Those interviews and supporting materials I mentioned were also very enlightening for understanding what Valve sees as their next steps. Here are some highlights that my friend Mosquito posted in the Fandom Deck Discord. Pierre Loup had the following to say about SteamOS. Quote, I would like to be able to install launchers from other company stores and software that is not on Steam without entering desktop mode. There is a wide variety of software, not just those that exist on Steam, so I would like to be able to enjoy those kinds of things with Steam Deck as well, end quote. I for one am happy to hear that Valve are serious about getting other launchers working in gaming mode. That's an important one for me. Ironically, it seems less important for some Epic employees, but we'll revisit that later in the video. If you're one of the folks that like to reminisce about the golden days back when Valve used to make games, well, fear not. Greg at Valve had this to say, quote, "Valve has a lot of games in development. We will continue to release games. Game development is very important to Valve. I don't know the exact number, but the percentage of employees involved in game development is high. A lot of people are involved," end quote. For what it's worth, if you follow someone like Tyler McVicker, you know that Valve is always working on games, but what we'd like to see is for them to actually release a few of them. Finally, the Greg noted the different directions that Steam Deck could take in the future. Quote, "Unless something big changes, we'll have generations of Steam Deck products. It could be a product with different themes, sizes, and shapes, or a product that uses streaming. Well, I don't know what kind of shape it will be, but this product will continue. For one thing, the product is also an extension of Steam's existing PC platform. This is also another PC, and while there are people using Steam in various ways, we want to make as many styles of customers happy as possible," end quote. If you haven't noticed, these quotes are auto-translated from Famitsu, which is a Japanese publication, so some things have been lost in translation, but I take this to mean they're considering everything when it comes to the future of the Steam Deck, whether that's colorways, different sizes and shapes, some sort of streaming only option, or as mentioned somewhere else in the interview, consoles. On that note, the IGN Japan video had footage of the Steam controller prototypes with dual trackpad and dual analog, so they've definitely been playing around with the idea, and if they do make some sort of set-top box, it's obviously going to be a necessity. Hopefully that's something that we do hear about soon. Speaking of things we'll hear about soon, Valve ended their blog post by saying, quote, "That's all for today, more news soon," end quote. Mind you, this isn't exactly how they typically sign off their blog posts, but it's not the first time either. They said the same thing on July 29th when they announced a production update, and a week later we got this news. That tells me we'll be getting another big announcement very soon, maybe even this week. My best guess is news about Australia, but there are a lot of other possibilities, including news about the dock. For the first time, the ETA for the dock has been changed to say later this year. So I think there's a good chance that we'll learn more about that in short order as well. But what do you think this tease is about? What news will we hear about soon? Let me know in the comments. There's a lot more deck news to cover, including SteamOS 3.3 and Spider-Man, but first let's talk about some other PC gaming news. First, Logitech and Tencent have announced a partnership to create their own handheld. The catch here is that this is going to be a handheld designed for game streaming primarily, and honestly, I'm having a hard time seeing the point. I consider myself open-minded, and I think game streaming is cool actually, but there's no price point where I think a streaming-only handheld makes sense. Let's assume the handheld is $100. There's no way that a $100 handheld will have a better quality screen than what most people have on their phones today. And for $100, I can buy a telescopic controller to go with that phone. And that controller is likely going to have better feeling controls than a budget handheld does. So yeah, who is this for? I guess we'll see as we learn more details. On the other hand, reviews are pouring in for Ioneo's latest handheld, the Ioneo Air. This handheld is the size of a Switch Lite, comes with an OLED screen, is more powerful than Switch, and the cheapest version is available for as low as $500. The value is still not quite at Steam Deck levels, but this is at least offering some unique benefits. The size and the OLED screen are definitely very attractive, and the reviews are very positive so far, so that's awesome. New Blood announced that the eagerly anticipated Gloomwood has been delayed, but balanced that with the good news that Ultra Kill Act 2 is coming next week. Gloomwood has only been delayed by 3 weeks, but as usual, I think the devs should take the time they need. And yeah, the news that Ultra Kill Act 2 is coming soon is very welcome indeed. The Tactics Ogre remake, titled Tactics Ogre Reborn, was finally announced last week. Long rumored to be coming, we finally have a Steam store page, release date, and price. This will be released on November 11th at a very surprising $50. This remake seems genuinely awesome, and it looks like they're doing this classic some justice. Well, except for the sprite filtering. But that $50 price tag is pretty surprising. For now, I'm going to reserve judgment until the game is actually released. Apparently, a small group of people have already started playtesting Diablo 4, and the buzz is good. This is according to Jason Schreier, who says a bunch of people are playing an early build through a friends and family alpha test. We also got news about another early game in development with Project L. This is the upcoming 2D tag fighter from Riot Games. Now, I've been following this team's work since they were working on Rising Thunder before Riot acquired them, and I'm very excited to see where this one goes. And last week they released an awesome dev diary that included the announcement that Project L will be free to play. This news came just before EVO, the biggest fighting tournament of the year. That took place this past weekend. So get this, back before the launch of the Steam Deck, I reported that the people that run EVO were looking into how the Steam Deck could fit into the festivities. Well, apparently one of the games at EVO, Melty Blood, was played exclusively on a Steam Deck, on a JSOX dock no less. I'm guessing this is running in desktop mode since the screen is on. Oh, and look at this. One Melty Blood player was playing with a modified Guitar Hero controller that has a joystick in place of the strummer. That's pretty sick. There were also a series of announcements including Dragon Ball FighterZ getting rollback netcode. That announcement is sure to bring renewed interest to this tag fighter. Hopefully they can add support for the Steam Deck as well, since this remains one of the few incompatible fighters on the platform. It's really fun to see EVO back in full swing, and I didn't get to see everything, but I will be catching up on all the top 8s that I missed this week. Congratulations to all the winners, and congratulations to Sonic Fox, who won their 6th EVO championship, this time in Skullgirls. They enter in elite territory, tying Daigo, of all people, for EVO championships. Daigo and Sonic Fox now sit a few championships behind Justin Wong. Legendary. Alright, let's go through some more deck news. There's a lot to cover even beyond Steam Deck coming to Asia, including how SteamOS 3.3 seems to have introduced some performance issues. First and foremost, Spider-Man Remastered has officially been deck verified and is out on Thursday. I can't believe we're just days away from playing this banger on a handheld. If you're looking to free up space ahead of time, you'll need about 75 gigabytes of space to install this bad boy. You should also know that this month's Humble Choice is the best Humble Choice bundle I've seen in quite some time. This month's subscription bundle includes 6 verified games and 2 playable games. Most notably, it has The Ascent, Hot Wheels Unleashed, and A Plague Tale: Innocence. So your Steam art should be getting cleaner too. Valve has instituted some new guidelines for key art in the Steam library. Developers can no longer decorate their art with things like award logos, game review scores, festival banners, or anything promoting a different product like a sequel. That should make for a nicer looking homepage on your Steam Deck. On the customer support page for Multiverses, you have to select the platform, and Steam Deck is one of the options. I call this out because it's another example of Multiverses' excellent support for Steam Deck so far. I hope this sets a standard for other free-to-play games, even if they are using Epic's anti-cheat service. This stands in stark contrast to Epic themselves, who have basically been implying that they don't trust the efficacy of their own anti-cheat service on Linux. The most recent story involves a Twitter user talking about the pros and cons of the Steam Deck by saying that the hardware is great, but it further fractures the PC audience because it's not compatible with games like Overwatch, Destiny 2, and most importantly, Fortnite. And yeah, it really sucks that games like Fortnite are not supported on the Steam Deck. But there's an odd twist to this story. The user in question is an employee at Epic Games. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that. The levels of irony were just too much to handle. And by the way, I'm not posting screenshots of the interaction here because although I think it's a funny story, I want to actively discourage people from bothering, or even worse, harassing what is basically just one person at Epic. That shit is not cool. But yeah, hopefully games like Multiverses show that there is in fact a way forward. In other news, Valve have published a list of the top 10 games being played on deck in the last week, and it really shows the versatility of this machine. It's got Multiverses, Vampire Saviors, Stray, Elden Ring, No Man's Sky, Hades, Stardew Valley, Grand Theft Auto 5, Aperture Desk Job, and Monster Hunter Rise. You all have excellent taste, I must say. By the way, JSOX, who has sponsored this channel in the past, is working on a Steam Deck dock with an M2 slot. This would allow you to keep a bigger NVMe drive plugged in so that you have access to even more games when you dock your Steam Deck. That would be pretty good. Also, if you ordered a JSOX dock and are still waiting for your shipment, they did issue a statement with some bad news and some good news. The bad news is that a logistics company did lose 187 of their packages. The good news is that those docks are still underway, and they offered a 30% refund to those individuals. I'm impressed with this level of communication from JSOX. Very cool. On the software side, EmuDeck got a new release over the weekend. This one is version 0.17.6, and it's the first version with official support for the Anbernic Win600. There are new emulators including Naomi, MAME Standalone, Ryujinx, EasyRPG, and a big update for PCSX2, nicknamed PCSX2Q. There are also improvements including a better compression tool, easier power tools installation, a folder for HD texture packs, and improved input. This is a really big update, and I'm hard at work trying to put together a video that covers everything for y'all, so be sure you have notifications on so you don't miss that. Proton Experimental received a big update which finally includes official support for Halo Infinite. I've been reporting on the updates for this as of late, and I've complained about the more annoying aspects of getting Halo to run, but it seems that with this official update, things are looking great. My understanding is that even the cutscenes are working and the audio is no longer choppy. I'm going to give this a spin again soon because if everything is working as it should be, then it's time to finally finish the... I know you all saw that one coming. I'm not ashamed. I'm not. Come at me, bro. Alright, and finally for this segment, let's talk about the big update to the stable branch of SteamOS. This is version 3.3. And for people that have been in the beta branch, there's not a whole lot new here. But if you haven't been on the beta branch, this is a really chunky update. This gives you the achievements and the guides page on the Steam overlay. It gives you scheduled night mode, support for some additional international keyboards including simplified Chinese and Korean, support for additional controllers, UI scaling options for dock mode, and a whole lot more. They also fixed a long-standing bug where the panel stays off after it's disconnected from the dock shortly after resuming from sleep. I've been doing a lot of dock gaming recently, and this was still a big annoyance for me. I'm glad to hear that now it's been resolved. Now, with all that said, there are people that have been reporting performance issues. This seems unrelated to the stuttering issue that was introduced in SteamOS 3.3, but quickly resolved later that day. There is a Reddit thread posted by XDisney on QuackX that compiles some of the games people are seeing issues on, including Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, and God of War. Jimmy from Deck Ready has also reported that he saw some issues with Alan Wake. And you know, I saw some major performance differences on Forza Horizon 5, but at the time I attributed that to the Hot Wheels DLC. Now, I'm not sure if they were caused by the DLC or by SteamOS 3.3. Valve hasn't publicly addressed this, but it's leading some to speculate that this has been caused by an update in graphics drivers. Hopefully we'll see an update on this matter very soon. And before the community spotlight, let's talk about some games. First up, Brace Yourself Games surprised us with a massive content pack for Crypt of the Necrodancer that adds online multiplayer, 3 new characters, and full mod support. This DLC is in early access and is titled Synchrony. The reception so far has been incredible and this looks well worth a try. This also came with an announcement for the sequel titled Rift of the Necrodancer. Can't wait to hear more about that. South of the Circle also released a good reception. It has 90% positive reviews on Steam. The negative reviews seem to focus on the lack of interactivity, but the positive reviews focus on the quality of the story told, as well as the art and animation. And one game you should also try is Gun Devil. This precision platformer has some awesome jams, an unorthodox art style, fun fast-paced gameplay, and best of all, it is free. Overall, last week was pretty light, but this week is jam-packed with titles. I've already mentioned that Spider-Man Remastered is out this Thursday, and that's definitely my most anticipated title for the week. But Axiom Verge 2 finally sees a Steam release on Thursday, and like the recent Shredder's Revenge, it has a native Linux version, so there's really no question of compatibility. Cult of the Lamb has been eagerly anticipated since people got their hands on the demo at Steam Summer Next Fest. It's a roguelite dungeon crawler that's equal parts adorable and disturbing, according to Game Informer. The combat in this game is fast-paced and it's balanced by some light management of your satanic cult. This hybrid kinda reminded me of ActRaiser as I was playing it, so yeah, give it a shot. Lost in Play looks like a really awesome point-and-click style adventure with beautiful hand-drawn art and animation. 2 Point Campus is a campus management sim by the makers of 2 Point Hospital, and I don't know much about Shinchan, but it's a 2.5D slice-of-life adventure, and it's getting a lot of buzz for being an adaptation of the wholesome manga and anime property. This game looks downright adorable. And finally, it's time for the community spotlight. For today, I've got 2 really good spotlights for you. First up is the Switch deck. In addition to the customized red-blue decal, this Redditor, who goes by MaryTank8, has completely replaced the little Steam Deck suspend video as well as all of the UI sounds with the Switch equivalent. Here, take a look and listen. That's really slick. They also give instructions on how to do that in the Reddit thread, so I'll be sure to include a link down in the description. And here is the Steam Deck Lifesaver. This is by Lunar Mon 1984, and it's a single 3D printed piece that goes inside of the Steam Deck case so you don't accidentally drop the Steam Deck if you go to pick up the case and forget that it's unzipped. I've literally had this exact thing happen to me once. Thankfully, the Steam Deck only took a small spill and it was onto a carpeted floor, but yeah, this Lifesaver could have prevented all that. Really nice work. Anyway, that's it for this week. Let me know what you think about today's topics. Do you think we'll actually get some more news from Valve soon? What could it be? What games are you excited for this week? And when do you think a Steam Controller 2 is coming? If you like this video, like the video. If you want to see more, then be sure to subscribe. And if you're interested in helping out some more, maybe join awesome folks like Tentel and Renee on my Patreon. Deck Gang out. Goodbye!